Yes, hello. Welcome to our study again this hour. Today we are focusing on carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrate is a compound of three elements. That is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And carbohydrates are essential in life because one, it provides energy. Number two is a storage forms of food. For instance, in plants, it is starch, and in animals, it is in form of glycogen. So storage forms of food. Number three is that it's a structural components. It forms some of the components. For instance, cell walls of most plants is made of cellulose, and cellulose is part of carbohydrates. It's a carbohydrate. And we have chitin, that is the covering of some organisms such as arthropods of the phylum Arthropoda. Their exoskeleton, their cover, is made of a carbohydrate known as chitin. We have three classes of carbohydrates. Three classes: monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Mono, di, polysaccharides. Let's start with monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are the simplest carbohydrates. The simplest carbohydrates, the simplest sugars. Carbohydrates are generally known as sugars. We have some examples. Examples of carbohydrates include fructose, that is found in fruits and honey. No wonder some fruits are sweet. Number two, we have galactose. It's a monosaccharide, the sugars found in milk. And we have glucose. Glucose is found in our blood. The sugars in our blood is glucose. Monosaccharides are sweet tasting. They are soluble in water. They can form crystals, and they are reducing sugars. What do you understand by reducing sugars? These are sugars which, when mixed with Benedict solution and they are heated, are able to reduce blue copper 2 ions to brown copper 1 ions. Now, in that experiment, when it is done, the color of Benedict solution, when you are starting to heat, it starts from blue to changes to green to yellow to brown or orange, to show that the copper 2 ions, which gives Benedict solution the blue color, has been reduced to copper 1. So generally, monosaccharides are reducing sugars. Let us consider the second class, disaccharides. Di means two. So disaccharides are formed when two monosaccharides are combined together through a process called condensation. This process also produces water, so that a monosaccharide plus another monosaccharide it gives disaccharide plus water. Examples of disaccharides include: one, we have lactose, which are also sugars found in milk. Lactose are formed by combination of galactose plus glucose. Another example is sucrose. Sucrose is found in sugarcane. The juice of sugarcane is sucrose. So it is formed by combining glucose plus fructose. Another one is maltose. Maltose is found in germinating seeds. They are formed by combination of glucose and glucose. Two glucose molecules form maltose. Properties of disaccharides. Disaccharides are also sweet. They can also form crystals. And there are non-reducing sugars. To mean they are not able to reduce blue copper 2 ions in Benedict solution to brown copper 1. With the exception of two, maltose and lactose are reducing sugars. They reduce to some extent. So they reduce to some extent. So we call them complex reducing sugars. It may not undergo all the series of the colors that we talked about, blue, green, yellow, brown, or orange. It may go to green or yellow. So it has traces of reducing sugars. Disaccharides, through a process called hydrolysis, it can be broken down to constituent monosaccharides. That is, the monosaccharides that produce them. For instance, maltose, which is a disaccharide formed from combining two monosaccharides, can be broken down through the process of hydrolysis to get back to the constituent monosaccharides through a process called hydrolysis. This process requires water. The third class of carbohydrates is polysaccharides. The word poly means many. So polysaccharides are formed through the same process of condensation. But this time around, not two, but many monosaccharides put together through the process of condensation produces polysaccharides. Examples of polysaccharides. One, we have starch. Starch is found stored in plant tissues. Number two, we have glycogen, which is stored in animal tissues, glycogen. There is cellulose, which is found in the cell walls of plant cells. We have chitin, which I have already explained, which is found in the covering exoskeleton of arthropods. Then we have lignin, which is found in the xylem vessels and tracheids. So polysaccharides are formed by many monosaccharides put together. Properties of polysaccharides: they are non-sweet. They are not sweet. They are insoluble in water. There are non-reducing sugars. When they are heated together with Benedict solution, they are not able to reduce the blue copper 2 ions to brown copper 1 ions. They can also be broken down through the process of hydrolysis to get back to the constituent monosaccharides, as I explained in disaccharides. In the laboratory, the process of hydrolysis can be done using weak acids, such as weak hydrochloric or dilute hydrochloric acid. But in the body systems, in the bodies of organisms, in nature, naturally, it is done by enzymes. The hydrolysis process is done by enzymes. So let us summarize what you have said. Carbohydrates is a compound of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. There are three classes of carbohydrates: monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Examples of monosaccharides: you have fructose, galactose, and glucose. Examples of disaccharides: maltose, lactose, and sucrose. Polysaccharides. Examples of polysaccharides: starch, glycogen, lignin, chitin, cellulose. All monosaccharides are reducing sugars. Disaccharides are non-reducing sugars except maltose and lactose, which we call them complex reducing sugars. All polysaccharides are non-reducing sugars. Thank you and welcome for future studies. Till next time, goodbye.